Hello, welcome to Global Business. I am Imewayo Hyamokai. Today on the program, we shall be bringing you an engaging meeting between young business leaders and the American ambassador to Nigeria, Stuart Symington. You'll be shocked at how much this ambassador knows about Nigeria, about Nigerian business, and about the Nigerian business environment. Much so that the young business leaders said to themselves that their business world had been turned around. We'll also be bringing you all that potpourri that makes Global Business what it is, your number one choice program for business, especially for the awards too. Welcome again. Also today, we shall be bringing you our Young Investors Forum and of course, other issues on business today. Just stay back, relax, and watch. Enjoy your number one business program.
For a continent that has about 70% youthful population, we know that Africa has abundance of human resources. So Africans need to get to work. And we must understand the fact that for Africa to work, we as entrepreneurs need to get to work. We need to create those jobs. It's not the responsibility of government to create the jobs. It is our responsibility to create the jobs while the government creates the enabling environment for us. So recognizing this fact, we understand also the American embassy or the United States government has over the years, invested in developing capacities in Nigeria through YALI, AGOA, AWEP, and other programs. Just like the U.S. Secretary of State for Africa, Thibault, when he was around at the public lecture which I attended, said that Nigeria needs, or Africa needs to start taking charge of its own, development. So we need to be in the driver's seat. And he says something that stuck with me as well, that America wants to be seeing Nigeria or Africa from the windscreen, no longer the side mirror. So that means we need to take charge, and that's exactly what we're doing here today. So at Leadpreneur, let me give you a background. At Leadpreneur, as an organization, we will continue to partner with U.S. Embassy and the rest of the organizations that want to build capacity of leaders and entrepreneurs across Africa. At Leadpreneur, we believe that for Africa to develop, there has to be a convergence of leadership and entrepreneurship, and for us to exchange ideas like this and collaborate ultimately to impact the society, and that is what Leadpreneur stands for.
Real success as an entrepreneur is when you connect people. When you figure out a way to deliver a good or a service for less than it is worth to the people you deliver it to. I love the fact that in Nigeria, everybody that I've met has the heart of a businesswoman or man. Because if there's one thing that I've learned in your country over the last 2 years, it is that you're always thinking about value for money. What's it really worth? That's the heart of entrepreneurship. Creating things worth more than it cost you to create them, and then connecting people and filling a need. When you mentioned Bezos, he did a wonderful interview on entrepreneurship the other day in which he said, I have a lot of competitors, because basically he sells things and delivers them. But he said, I think that all my competitors spend a lot of time thinking about the competitors, and I spend all my time thinking about the customer. Again, connecting people. Zuckerberg, when I was in college, before Zuckerberg was born probably, we had a book with pictures of every student. It had the picture, it had where you were from, what your major was, what what house you were in, what your interests were. Mark and his team took what everybody was doing and took it global. So what that story tells is that you don't just make money with a completely new idea. Sometimes, like a seed of an ancient grain, you make money taking a seed and planting it on new ground. Or maybe, like agriculture in Nigeria today, finding new ways to be more efficient as farmers and as livestock people. But now let's think about Bill Gates. Literally what Bill did was he brought the concept of the home computer home, which meant that he actually began the process that today on your phone connects you at every second, not just to every other corner of the world almost, but also to every idea, every image, every other person. And Bill began that with that wonderful egg-shaped or apple-inspired computer that I had on my desk a long time ago. And now let's talk about Alico. This is a country that cries out for infrastructure. It cries out literally and figuratively for ways to cement together, like Dangote cement, to cement together a nation that was an idea before it was a country. So, I think you're right. Those are remarkable entrepreneurs. But what do they teach you? I think they teach you three things. First, the idea. Second, the customer, the audience, the connection. But third, I think they need to teach you this. What is the true value of what I'm doing? What will come of it? Because I bet there are days when a man who builds a highway hears about an accident on the highway and asks himself, could I have built a better road? There are definitely days that terrible things happen on the computer, cyberbullying. There are days that people use social media not to bring people together to do good, but to drive people apart by doing harm. And then there are days when you get something from Amazon that you don't want and you have to send it back. It isn't the connection that ensures the quality. It's the conscience and the principle of the entrepreneur. If you think, as an entrepreneur, that it's all about you and how many customers you have or how much money you've made, what your stock is worth, I think you've also got it wrong. Where do we really need entrepreneurs in Nigeria? Simple answer is everywhere. Good news is there are entrepreneurs everywhere. Citizens in a democracy have to be entrepreneurs. And every entrepreneur has to truly be a citizen, thinking not just of themselves, but of others. And here are, for those of you who believe what I just said to be true, here are a couple of challenges for you. Number one, think of your country and your customer before your company and yourself. And make that clear at all times so that people love to work with you. Number two, Nigeria is not a box. Edo State, Kebbi, Ebonyi, Jigawa, these aren't boxes. These are living cells. People move in and out across the membrane, across the border all the time. Nigeria is not a box. So, number two, think outside the box. Don't define your market like some shoe that is too small that you will soon outgrow. You're Nigerians. Think about the whole world. And above all, think about all of West Africa. Number 3, ask yourself every day 2 questions. Today, am I creating something of value that is worth more than it costs me to create? And at the very same time, ask yourself, is what I am creating good? In short, am I doing well today? And am I doing good today? You've got to do both. The cool thing about being an entrepreneur is you can do it both. You can do good and do well at the same time. You can marry these 2 pieces of conscience and interest that is present in every great country, in every functioning democracy. So once again, entrepreneurs every day find a way to create something worth more than it costs you to make. That means you will do well. And then make sure that the product that you make is good. That will ensure that you succeed as an entrepreneur, as a company, as a citizen, as a country. There are an extraordinary number of skilled professions in this country where there's a huge opportunity to disrupt by bringing up the level of skill to the world class. It's kind of like bringing up the level of the polity. And people all over the world, in Europe, in the United States, and other places, make a business. They do well. They make money, helping connect people with their future in this way. So I urge you to think about disrupting mentoring in the skilled trades, vocational technical education, where companies and end users define strong needs and then go to the institution and say, if you teach your students this, and if you send them to us as interns or something, and if they have good work ethic and they don't misbehave, we will put them to work, or they might go to work themselves. Nigerians are not paying the true cost of good governance, or even of governance itself. The revenue from oil in 2017 was something like 2.5% of your GDP. Now, I know many of you are saying, I don't know about everybody else, but I pay an awful lot of taxes. Well, I've talked to a lot of businesswomen and men here, and I said, if you pay so many taxes here and you have so many hassles here, why don't you go back to the other country where you're a citizen, which in this one woman's case was England, and work there? And she looked at me like I was an idiot. And she said, are you kidding? I can do much better here, even though my blood pressure goes up. So here's the challenge. The challenge is to do much better here while your nation is doing much better. So guys, congratulations on being in what I think is the most important conversation in one of the very most important countries on the face of the earth. Thank you all.
Our strategy is quite different. We're not looking at skills, we're looking at the character. And this can only be gotten by learning. Character is not inherited. You learn it, you pass it on from one person to the next person, to the next person. And then it can infuse in every sector of the economy. So the basic and foremost thing we think is best to ensure there's a revolution in the entrepreneurial space is learning. You see, we always believe that we cannot entrepreneur our way out of bad governance.
This vision is not all about profit making. It's about making a difference. It's about being a blessing. It's about changing the narrative. What we do is we go into this business and try and assess what exactly are you doing? What is the philosophy behind this business? Because you cannot build a culture without a philosophy. You build the culture of an organization or a business or whatever you do on the philosophy. In the first place, why are you doing what you are doing? A lot of people are going to business. They are business owners today, but they are not entrepreneurs. They are business owners, they are opportunists. So what the difference we want to make, we want to improve the knowledge of entrepreneurship and make sure that we empower businesses. So you can see, empower businesses is the secondary thing, but more importantly, we must impact this business socially. to make sure and improve our environment.
Back then, it was just focused on make money, business, money, not service. I mean, the ambassador touched something about that, saying stand up your program, stand up your service. You know, what people see, what they touch, what they feel, will make them come back. And repeat business is the real business. Not come bamboozle them, people will never come back.
My staff are my number one customers because they are the interface between the customers you think are bringing in the money. They are the backbone. So it's important to always remember to treat your staff well. Recently we had a conference and one of the speakers says, change your mindset and learn to buy the necessary skill set. You can buy your skill set, but the mindset that we need to change, it must begin with you. Because every idea and every thought and everything that you're going to take into the entrepreneurship space starts with an idea. So it starts with thinking. So thinking is critical to the success of whatever you want to do. The quality of your thoughts will determine the quality of the outcome of whatever you want to do. A lot you need to pick, you need to research, you need to read, you need to have mentors, you need to collaborate, you need to be in the right network to get the amount of things you get to know. So building capacity is very important. Mentoring is also very important for us because why reinvent the wheel? Why make the same mistakes when it's easier for you to just work under a mentor? Put in your structures. If your business does not have a structure, you cannot scale up, you cannot grow, you cannot export, and that's the future for us.
I always heard the expression, you're never too old to learn. So until you're in the grave, you should be still learning. And I think that's great. I think as any entrepreneur, adaptability and knowledge, trying to constantly adapt and change and recognize what you have, are very important. 67% of the people who win lottery will most likely go bankrupt within 5 years. Because why? Because the habits they're using when they were spending money continued even when they had more money. So it goes back to the values. If your values are not aligned, if you are not adjusting the way in which you're doing things without money, then you're going to repeat the same mistakes once you have the money.
Encourage everybody to equal entrepreneurship program, organization that
Entrepreneurship was not taken as a core subject. It wasn't anything important. It was just like finish school, get work. Now there are no more jobs for anybody to get. So first things first is in the curriculum now. So entrepreneurship is being thought all along. Many times government takes a decision without proper planning and how it will happen. The first thing they did at the secondary level was to introduce 36 trade subjects. And they asked every school, the trade subjects were a compulsory mix. Is a compulsory subject. You must teach a child a trade subject so that something in the area of that child, he can get it after. But they brought the 36 trade subjects without a teacher, without a curriculum, without anything. And when we even asked, how do you want us to teach this? They say, how? Fine, you can go and get anybody. If you want to do bricklayer, go and get a bricklayer to teach them. The bricklayer doesn't have the language of the students you're talking about and all that. So we needed to begin to fashion out things that we could do to make that begin to work. So that is beginning now, starting from the foundation. In fact, a lot of the private schools have taken it further, taking entrepreneurship from the primary school now, so that they begin to understand the mold of that. So we hope that in the next 10 years, you'll begin to see a new generation of thinking entrepreneurs coming out.
It's not enough to go into the curriculum. The practice of the learning that we get, it's key in our environment. We have been made to understand that the basis for access to get access to finance is to get collateral. And that needs to change. And that's why part of what government is doing. There are two enablers that happened last year. One of it is the Credit Act. Credit Act. The second one is collateral register. It was signed into law. What does that mean? We want a situation where you are assessing people on their character, ability to pay back. That's why you have a credit bureau now. It's important to know, does this person, based on his history in the past, if he takes credit, does he have the attitude or the capacity, the character to pay? In the 5 C's of credit, character comes first. Collateral that we so emphasize is the last. That's why it's important we take advantage. That's an enabler. And another one, I talk about the collateral register. A lot of, before now, you need a fixed asset to do. Now you can even use a movable. Walk into and tell them, I have a car. And they don't even need to take that car. They just need the papers of your car. And they'll log the records. You can't sell that car. If you sell that car, the law says you are already committed a crime.
Everyone is building solutions for problems in Nigeria. People are solving problems in different sectors, in education, in energy, in agriculture, in transportation. These people need to be involved in these things, and once they become great at it, it translates to policy, it translates to good governance. So what I'll say is every entrepreneur should actually be involved in good governance. Every entrepreneur should actually start doing stuff they're doing in their different sectors, and there's a ripple effect that will happen and translate to the entire nation.
Mushroom production. Mushrooms are freshly fungi, spore-bearing fruiting bodies typically produced above ground on soil or on their food sources, which constitute a major group of lower plant kingdom. The use of mushrooms as food is very old. People have harvested mushrooms from the wild for thousands of years for food and medicine. Most mushrooms, and in particular oyster mushrooms, on their average dry weight contain 19 to 35% high-quality protein for good health. In fact, most nutrition experts refer to mushroom as a wonder protein-rich food. The fat in mushroom is less than 8% dry weight, which is better for health than the saturated fatty acids in animal fats. The high fiber content of mushroom is an invaluable advantage over other food items for easier and better digestion and assimilation in the alimentary canal. Selenium in mushroom is known to be invaluable in the prevention and treatment of prostate cancer. Basic production processes: composting of the substrate, bagging of the substrate, sterilization of the substrate, inoculation of substrates with spawn, which is more like the seed of the mushroom, incubation, cropping, harvesting and processing.
Spawn is more like the seed of mushroom, in the sense that mushroom is a fungi, not a conventional plant. And conventional plants produce seeds mostly. If they don't produce seeds, you can use their stem or whichever part of their body to grow them. But this one, most of the time you use the spores that flies around to incubate. But in this regard, you use the tissue culture. The tissue culture is just a portion, just like our body, we have cells, we have tissue. Our tissue is more like our muscle. So you get a portion of the mushroom and insert it into a container or petri dish that has certain growth medium inside it that will allow a convenient growth system of the mushroom. So this one will grow, ramify in the container. Most of the time we use the petri dish, which will be inserted into these bottles. These bottles will now ramify inside the bottle. Ramification means more like the way the root grow inside the soil. It will spread around, and from there, because this is actually guinea corn inside it, the guinea corn, because of the spread of the spawn, more like the spores, which produce mycelium. Mycelium are like the roots. They move around and they spread around, and that's why you see it becoming white all through. And just like roots, you see strands around the bottle. This one can do 15. You can see the quantity of grains inside. Yes, is much. So this is the commercial one. It's sold for 700.
Yeah. Mushrooms can be sold directly to customers or given to wholesalers. The profit will be reduced when dealing with an intermediate. Benefits of mushroom production: land area not a limiting factor. Planting is both vertical and horizontal. Maximum utilization of wasteland. No sunlight required. No requirement of weeding. Creates immense job opportunity for women, youths, pensioners, children, the disabled, and people with low income. There is already a market at home and abroad. Opens avenues for ancillary services and mushroom processing industries, canning, pharmaceuticals, bottling, and so on.
The market is incertain. You can't meet up with the market. Yes, because what I do now is, after I harvest in my farm, some of the people I train, if they are having issues with their market selling too, I get from them and sell. In fact, I even get from places outside Abuja to augment my demand.
Your market.
Yes, but there are places that when they place, if they place order, you have to meet with that number. Like some supermarkets, they want you to supply us at when needed. So those ones you just have to get it for them. So they can see the corporate room needs expansion.
Yes.
So this one thing about this business is people are skeptical in the sense that they feel there's no market for it. Yeah, there's a lot of market. Just like somebody is into artifacts. People, because you don't have any idea
knowledge of it.
Or knowledge, we feel how can I
Who
sell?
will buy it?
Yeah, those are into
looking
it,
for it.
yes.
Send us your young investor story to inspire other young people out there.
Well, that's Global Business for today. It's been a lot, and I know that your business world has been turned around. So, are you an entrepreneur that does well and does good? Ask yourself that question. And of course, I'm sure you'll learn from other panelists in that session. So, we wrap it off today, and join us again next week on the program. I am Imewayo Hyomokai, the man that does business with you once a week. And that once a week turns your business world around. Join us again next week.